What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. Good morning, Lambeau edition. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Doing alongside Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk a little Packers this morning. Jacob, how'd we sleep last night, bro? You all rested up, ready to go?
Honestly, no. I had to close last night. I got home at like midnight. And I can't fall asleep. And then I wake up because I'm an old man at like 5 a.m. for no reason. And then I just walk around just looking at my yard and my grass and be like, you better stay off of there.
Exactly.
That's how I turned into Clint Eastwood.
There you go. Great movie, by the way. What an awesome movie.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. My favorite when the big bad guys, kind of approach him, he acts like he's got a gun.
Yeah.
Like no chill whatsoever, man. Those guys were like, all right, this is a different cat here.
Yeah.
But yeah, great. What was it called? Gran Torino or something like this?
Gran Torino. That's a great movie.
Yeah, really good movie. Yeah. So what I thought we would do this morning is talk a little Packers salary cap to the next level. Yesterday we kind of set the stage. During this dead time, that's the time to get this stuff out of the way. Is talking about the future salary cap situation. You got to kind of lay the foundation for, okay, here's how the cap looks this year, being 2024. And then what does it look like next year? Obviously, you got 2 or 3 contracts that I think are going to be pretty important decisions on the Packers' future, with at the top of the heap being Jordan Love. So we're going to kind of break all that down and how the market looks. And we got kind of a little updated look now as far as, with Jared Goff's contract hitting, is that going to be a comp? Most people are saying, no, don't even try to comp that to what Jordan Love's contract is going to be. I think I tend to agree with that more than disagree, but there's going to be some other numbers that we can look at as well. But first things first, I wanted to do this real quick. Matt Schneidman put a tweet out that says, I think the Packers go 12-5. My reason and more takeaways from their 2024 schedule. That's from the NewYorkTimes.com. I thought that was cool because you guys know, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, I'm pretty sure Matt Schneidman just covers the team. He's not really a Packers fan, and there are many Packers fans that cover the team, obviously, and I love those guys. I do. But it's also cool to get people like him and a Jason Wilde that they'll tell you, hey, I'm not a Packers fan. You kind of get an outside perspective without the bias that you're going to get on this here show right here. We're going to be the first to tell you we are biased. And it doesn't mean we sugarcoat everything, but we're always going to come from the standpoint of we are Packer fans, and we're not going to hide that, right? So it's kind of why the channel is called Packer Fan Total Access, but that's a story for another day. I think we hit a home run there, actually. But what do you think about him saying that the Packers could go 12-5 here? At least that's his early predictions, because I know we kind of talked about it the other day, Jacob, and that's pretty exciting stuff, man.
Well, if you guys remember, that was my exact quote.
I was trying to pull that up
for the year. So, I have to believe that Matt Schneidman is probably the most brilliant man that's ever walked the earth, because he's me, right? So, no, I realistically, and I tried, like we talked about, when we went through the schedule, we were trying to be realistic, and we went through and we're like, we got to drop a game here, we got to drop a game there, to the point even where, like, I think you and Tim got to like week 13, you're like, there has to be more losses here. So, like, we got to figure out where those are.
Exactly.
The thing is, when you crunch these numbers in the offseason, it seems so easy to be like, well, that's a win, that's a loss. It's just, it kind of goes back to that strength of schedule debate where it's like, that's last year's results that we're going off of, which I think even Ryan on his podcast said, like, that's such a stupid metric to use. Like, I don't dictate what I'm going to do today because of what I did yesterday necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, you can build off what you did yesterday, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to be great today because I had a great day yesterday. Like, that's not how it works. So that being said, I think that, 12-5 is a very realistic, and would be an amazing, I'd have to, obviously, I think, what would that be? Maybe a 2 seed, 3 seed at the least. I would
imagine so. It depends on obviously how the rest of the conference shakes out, but yeah, as you look at the schedule here, again, typically what I do by the time we get to training camp is I'll give you a floor and a ceiling. That's how I like to predict. I don't like to go, here's the exact number of wins the Packers are going to have. If you guys remember last year, I said somewhere between 6 and 10 wins. If we lose if we win less than 6 games, Matt LaFleur's probably on the hot seat. And that's just a wild take of it being one of the youngest teams in the league. But and then, with 10 being kind of the ceiling, like, hey, if everything goes just about perfect for the Packers, I could see them pulling out 10 wins. I think they finished with 9 wins. So this year, when we went through and kind of picked the schedule, Emilio said 13-4. You said 12-5. Tim said 14-3, and I finished 13-4. So it's pretty cool, man, that you had the lower record of everyone. And that's still, man, that's a great prediction there. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I could see. I like to wait until training camp to give my final, hey, here's the floor, here's the ceiling. But on the surface, to me, this looks like it's going to be somewhere between 9 to 13 wins is what I'm thinking. Floor 9 wins if Jordan Love stays healthy, of course, and the ceiling be somewhere around 13. So it's going to be a fun season. And again, they've got to put together, and they're not going to sneak up on anybody this year, Jacob. Last year we talked about it going into the year, man. Hey, we're the underdogs. Let's embrace that role. We're not underdogs this year. People have got us on their radar, man.
Yep. Right here, Gene Dent says the same thing. Last year we went from hoping for a playoff spot. This year we're hoping for a Super Bowl. Great time to be a Packer fan. I agree with that completely. Eric wants to rain on our parade and says, what happens if we go 5-12? Well,
if we go 5-12, Eric, I'm just going to tell you, buddy, the post-game shows are going to be epic. Still tune in. It's going to be a whole lot of Jacob just looking away from the camera.
Yeah,
it'll be a whole lot of me with an uncomfortable giggle going, I don't know how I don't even know what to do here. And Tim will be on camera like this.
Tim will be dead inside.
And Emilio will be saying something like, he can block. He'll be trying to find some kind of positive. So regardless of how they finish this year, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It is. We're going to have a blast. We really got our feet under us as a show last year. The channel obviously blew up. We're still trying to understand the rules on YouTube. Obviously, if you guys watched the Michael Pratt Chalk Talk last night, the stream went completely down. Evidently, the video that we showed at the end that kind of tells his story, that was a third-party copyright. Now, they didn't hit us with a copyright strike, and YouTube was very nice about it. We appreciate them. They basically said, hey, look, you can't use stuff like that. The game tape, all that, you can use it, and it's a copyright, but we're allowed to use it, and any proceeds that's generated through any kind of advertisement or anything goes to the owner. But that particular one, that did kind of rub me the wrong way, Jacob, because it was an awesome story about Michael Pratt, and it was a great story that raised awareness for suicide in this country and across the world. And the fact that someone has rights to it, and it's like, no, we don't want them to see it unless we profit off of it, man, that's kind of a bad look, dude. But it is what it is. That has nothing to do with YouTube. That has to do with obviously the owner of it. But yeah, it was a cool story. But nonetheless, what we did, guys, if that did get cut off, if you watched live, you got to see the Chalk Talk segment of Michael Pratt. But what I did was I cut out that last part and re-uploaded the video. So if you haven't seen the Michael Pratt Chalk Talk, just go to the videos on our page. There's only like 3 or 4 videos because we do everything live stream on this channel. You'll see it in there. You can go back and watch it. It was a fun Chalk Talk, Jake.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Clayton, but doesn't the free speech platforms like X and Rumble, is that still intact there? Full?
It is. But I think what you got there, Jacob,
Copyright.
I'm going to choose my words wisely here. I think they are a little more, hey, you're allowed to do what you want on here. And I think the folks that generally try to over police apps, they don't hang out on those 2 platforms. That's the only way I know to say it. You know what I mean? They're not on X, they're not on Rumble. So it is what it is. This right here is definitely a real thing. Respect Orange said it was probably the crybabies from yesterday that reported you. That goes on a lot. And that's why it's important. You'll see me block people because if you don't block them, what they do is they hang around in the background, right? And they just constantly report your channel. And because you don't agree with everything they say. So again, I don't want the show to turn into that today, but I just wanted to let you know That story is up on YouTube. We always give credit. We said NFL Network owned the rights to it, so you can go watch it on their channel. All you got to do is type in Michael Pratt. It'd be the first thing that pops up. But also, if you want to check out that Chalk Talk, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, Stephen Smith said it was a good story. Also, it is a great story, man. Again, I've lost people to suicide. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast at least knows someone, a family, someone who's had to deal with that. And anytime you can raise awareness through this sport that we absolutely love, it's just a win-win, you know. So, yeah. With that being said, let's get in. Oh, go ahead. You got something, Jacob?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the whole ending your own whatever. I don't even, because I'm sure YouTube flags that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen that video of the soccer fans where it was like the most viewed clip in a while, when it was like two guys going to a soccer match, and one guy seems consistently depressed all the time. The other guy seems so bubbly, so excited, and they watch him go over and over and over through each game. How you doing? How's your life? How you doing? The guy just nothing. And then one time it comes back, and the seemingly depressed man lays his other buddy's jersey down on the seat. And it was like the most viewed thing. And it's like, sometimes depression isn't the people you think it is. Sometimes the people that are smiling and strong. I think of my favorite actor of all time is Robin Williams. I mean, that guy,
absolutely, yeah.
like, that just, it broke my heart when I heard about that. So, anyways, just check on your friends, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you did a great job choosing your words wisely there, because there are words that will trigger through artificial intelligence, through AI recognition, that'll pause the channel. Hey, why are you guys talking about this type thing? So yeah, we gotta choose our words wisely. You did great there. But yeah, it's important, like I said, just to raise awareness. Like you said, man, just stop being so damn mean to each other. That's the big thing. That's why I got so aggravated yesterday. It was because we're having a good time. Notice everybody gets along. And then you get a couple knuckleheads that you never see in here. They come in and stir it up. Like, we want to make sure everyone knows that, hey, look, that we're not going to tolerate it, man. We're here to get along, talk ball, have a good time. We've got our opinions. You've got yours. But when you hop in here and call someone a moron because they disagree with your opinions, then that's when we're going to have an issue, man. So nonetheless, though, let's talk 2025. Yeah, I always choose my words wisely. Of course you do there. Pull that back up one more time, Jake. I want to see his new profile pic. Just say, all right, get it off the screen. Eric Sutherland's in the house. That's all you guys need to know on the pod. All right. So let's talk salary cap here a little bit, okay? And it kind of begins and ends with Jordan Love, right? It really does. So what we're going to do is start with the end in mind, with the whole Jordan Love situation, contract situation. And like I said, we'll get into the cap space from the team and all that. Let's start with, you know what? Let's go the whole team here first. Let's do that, and then we'll get into the quarterback stuff. Is that cool with you, Jacob?
Yep.
I think that would be the easier way to handle it. And then as we get into the free agent aspect of 2025, we'll jump into the contract comps. But so when we look at the Packers salary cap situation here for 2025, the Packers are not in the league in cap space as it sits right now. The Packers have $62.4 million. Now, keep in mind, this is projecting an estimate of $273.3 million salary cap. Okay. That's kind of how that comes into play. That could be a little higher. It could be a little lower. Like, you know, obviously last year, what they projected was way under because all the media money hit and it ended up jumping like 30 million or whatever it was. So the Packers are sitting at 62.4 million in cap space. Keep in mind, this is according to Spot Track. And of course, we know Spot Track and Over the Cap, two of I think the best sources. If you like Over the Cap over Spot Track, that's awesome. I prefer Spot Track. I've gotten used to the layout, how the site operates. I think they do a great job. But this number might be off a little according to Over the Cap. Nonetheless, 62.4 million, ninth most cap space in the league. If you go from 1 to 9 here, just to kind of show what teams have the most cap space, New England, $148.3 million in cap space. Say what you want about Bill Belichick. He left that organization in a great situation cap-wise, right? There was a way that he was operating for years there. They had the most cap space, although New England might have the worst record this year, right? There's a lot of chatter about that. So I think we would all agree New England Patriots, a bad team. They've got the most cap space. Second most cap space, the Washington Commanders. Obviously, another bad team. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers at $94.8 million. I think that that's kind of a team that's right there around 500, and maybe we'll see with the offseason moves they just made, depending on if Cam Hayward's holdout is a real holdout or if he's just kind of bluffing. He's holding out for a new contract as an interior defensive lineman there in Pittsburgh. I think he plays more of a 3-tech and a 34 front, if I remember correctly. But nonetheless, I think I could see them making the playoffs is the point there. $94.8 million. That's pretty impressive. Arizona Cardinals. I think we would all agree they're still not quite there yet, right? There's some problems there. I'm not sold on Kyler Murray. I haven't been since day one. He just, to me, he doesn't act like a leader. I mean, you see CJ Stroud over in Houston. That dude's an absolute leader. You can see it's everything about that guy's makeup that screams leader. But again, wouldn't consider them a good team. Minnesota Vikings, $79.3 million. I think we would all agree probably not a playoff team this year. They could surprise some people, though. Number 6, the Chicago Bears at $74 million. Probably not a playoff team, although the media is already on the hype train saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, which absolutely cracks me up. You guys see the tweet I put out where I basically put up where mainstream media and a betting system had Mitch Trubisky as the MVP favorite. And then I put up the one where it was Dan Orlovsky and the ESPN crew talking about Justin Fields is an MVP candidate. And now I'm putting up the one from this year that's saying basically Caleb Williams is going to take these guys to the Super Bowl this year. It's every year these large market teams get kind of propped up by the media, right? And it's because they've got a bunch of viewers, a bunch of listeners in those big cities. There's a lot of money that rolls in as far as ratings. Number 7, Dallas Cowboys at cap space is $61.9 million. Not sure why that got kind of thrown off there. I may have sorted wrong. No. Yeah, it's weird. That's the only one that's not sorted right, isn't it, Jacob? You see that cap space there for Dallas? 61.9.
Yeah.
Not in order. Everything else is, though, right? Anyway, so Dallas, $61.9 million in cap space. I think they're a playoff team, obviously. The Dak Prescott situation could go even further south. He still doesn't have a contract. Detroit Lions, 63.5. That's a good team. I think we would all agree that's a really good team. And then the Green Bay Packers at 62.4 million. So the whole point of me listing those teams off is, and the Cincinnati Bengals right behind the Packers. If you look at those top 10 teams with the most cap space going into 2025, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those top 10 teams are playoff teams. It's pretty cool that the Packers are one of those teams. What do you think about that cap space there? Any thoughts that might trigger, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, like you said, tells the tale of how well the front office is kind of organized our budget and our talent and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, it's a little bit interesting. You basically don't see a playoff team until 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So, and those organizations, I don't think Dallas is that great at managing their money, but I think they're just in a good position this year because they've really got nobody left on their team, it seems like. One thing that strikes me as a little bit interesting is it looks like average age. They got that listed. Arizona, are they taking us over for the youngest team? They've got us listed at 25.8. They got Arizona at 25.6.
Sure looks like it, doesn't it?
I hope that's not true, man. I like being the young Bucks, but either way, we're going to be one of the, if not the youngest team in the league with that cap space, which lets you know that we just basically what this says is we're really good at drafting because we've already paid a lot of high skill level players, Jair, Rashawn, Kenny, a lot of those kind of guys that have gotten their money. Kenny's up for a redo, but we've got our staples in place here, the foundation of our organization. Obviously, we're going to have to pay Love, so that's going to take quite a bit of that chunk out of there.
Yeah,
but
and we're going to talk about that too. It's exciting to kind of see, and we'll go off precedent. We'll go off, okay, what if past teams who had to give the quarterback a big contract, what have they done? We got like 3 different approaches. We'll show you the Jared Goff approach. We'll show you the Patrick Mahomes approach and the Joe Burrow approach. So kind of cool. I agree with Ron Sample too, by the way. The Cardinals, I think they had a great draft. And again, listen, we don't give out draft grades. It doesn't matter what we think. When we say they had a good draft, that's just according to our board and just an overall perspective. They may come out and be absolute booty cheeks, and we had the information wrong, right? But on the surface, it did seem like they had a good draft, Jake.
And I think that it's because Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, they had next to the Packers, I think they had one of the largest amounts of guys they drafted. So if you just influx like 12, 13 guys that are 21, 22 years old, that's gonna bring your number down. I'd be interested to see what the average age is after the final cuts and all that kind of stuff. But
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if like Minnesota with all that cap space, do you see them trying to do anything crazy to try to glue this year together? Like, I
This year, no. Free agency's already passed. I think it's a similar situation as the Packers. We're sitting there at 62.4, but you got Jordan Love needing money, right?
you
With
know,
Minnesota, you got 79.3. You got Justin Jefferson looking at him going, hey, man, when you go write that check? So
yeah,
I think a good chunk of that, the beautiful thing about that is a good chunk of that's going to go to the most important position uh, in the entire league with the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love at quarterback. With Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion, not that important of a position, especially from the Bill Walsh school of thinking of wide receivers, the last piece you put in place. I'm not saying they shouldn't pay Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying it never seems to line up for the Minnesota Vikings to go, okay, everything's in place. Now let's go all in. Seems like they're always kind of chasing their tail there. So, all right, let's move on to. So let's take a little bit deeper here. You guys are going, okay, what's the 2025 cap hits look like for the Packers? Glad you asked. Probably going to be hard to read. I'm going to try to explain it to you guys here. Can you see that okay, Jacob? Is that good enough
yeah,
screenshot for you?
gotta kind of squint a little bit, but
I could screen share the Spot Track website, but there's so many ads that run, and they've all got sound that you guys would just it would be impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually sign up for a membership there so we can kind of have access to it. I'm also going to reach out to them too and see if there's anything we can do to help promote their website. That way we can kind of pay it forward in that regard. But let's just kind of lay this out. These are the top cap hits for the 2025 season. Number one, Jair Alexander with $25.8 million in cap hit. Number two, Rashawn Gary, 25.5. Number three, Elton Jenkins, 17.6. Number four, Xavier McKinney, 17.6. Number five, Preston Smith, 17.5. Number six, Kenny Clark. You guys are going, wait, no, he's not going to be on the team. That's the voidable years we talked about. So his cap hit next year, 13.7 million, even though he's not on the roster. Okay. Number seven, Devondre Campbell to 12.5. We've talked about that. Number eight, Josh Jacobs, 11.3 million against the cap. That's what we were talking about with. It's kind of like a 1-year deal. If you look at the dead cap attached to Josh Jacobs, you could cut him and save $2 million. You got to ask yourself, is it worth saving $2 million to get rid of Josh Jacobs if he plays like that 2022 Josh Jacobs? Obviously not. That's where you're probably going to get into year to year, converting some of that base salary to signing bonus because he's gonna want more guaranteed money eventually. Please, Packer fans, don't look at him as a bad person when that time comes. You can see it, the writing's on the wall for the restructuring of the contract as they go through that. The Packers have an easy out after year one, right? Because the cap space is much lower this year, right, than it is next year as far as the cap penalty or the cap hit overall. Let me try to show you here. Well, I don't have the individuals. I was going to show you the actual contract of him, but I don't have it pulled up. Much less cap hit this year than next year on Josh Jacobs. So, all right. So let's see here. Where were we at? Ninth on the list, Keyshawn Nixon at 6.8 million. Number 10 is Jordan Love at 5.2. But he's not on the roster next year. That's voidable years that they've already kind of pushed out. So he's already on the hook for 5.7 against the cap next year. That will probably go up tremendously, obviously, with the new contract, but they could even kick that down the road and tack on voidable years later on if they want to and continue to spread that around. Number 11, Lucas Van Ness at 4.7 million. Number 12, Quay Walker at 4.4 million. Number 13, Devontae Wyatt at 4 million. Number 14, Christian Watson at 2.9 million. That's why I giggle at the people that cut him. He's injury prone. It's like, bro, do you understand how little he's getting paid for someone who can really tilt the field when he is healthy? Like, what are we talking about? Luke Musgrave, 2.3 million. Jaden Reed, your leading receiver last year in yards. And then also don't forget the production on the ground too, running the ball on those jet sweeps. 1.9 million against the cap. Number 17, Sean Ryan, 1.6 million. Number 18, Tucker Kraft, 1.5 million. Number 19, Marshawn Lloyd at 1.3 million. Number 20, Romeo Dobbs. You talking about bang for buck, Jacob. 1.2 million for Romeo Dobbs. Zach Tom, 1.2 million. I'm trying not to grin. You could probably hear it in my voice. Kobe Wooden, 1.2 million. Tyron Hopper, 1.1 million. And then Matthew Orzik, who's going to have some competition at the long snapper position this year at 1.1 million. So what sticks out to you there as far as the cap hits in 2025, bro?
I mean, yeah, just like I talk about all the time, I'm a TJ Maxx, I'm a bundle saver, man. So you're looking at guys down there like Romeo Dobbs, Zach Tom, even Wooden. You can go, like you said, at Jaden Reed, Musgrave, Watson. All those guys are on like basically $1 million per. I mean, that's insane. And like you talked about with Christian Watson, it's like we've seen his highs and his lows. His highs are so high that he can be the best receiver in the league. Like, you remember that 8-game stretch or whatever he had, the 6-game stretch where he cooked everyone. I mean, and I know it's when healthy is such a tired argument. I hate that argument, but it's just factual with Christian Watson. When he is healthy, he is a absolute game changer. The way he stretches the field, the way that like you have to account for him doing an end around, doing a go, like anything that he does, he's so fast, he's so twitchy, and he has the skills to take the ball. He's got the yak, he's got all that kind of stuff. Like, you do have to game plan for him if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, it stinks. But it sounds like he's done a lot of work in the offseason with that kind of stuff. And it is interesting to see some of these rookies sneak up there, like Marshawn Lloyd, Tyron Hopper up there. You know what I mean? Right around the likes of guys like Zach Tom and above Romeo Dobbs. It's like, okay, all right, well,
Yep.
we're getting some discount deals here.
Absolutely. Paul Robertson said that, he said, yeah, there it is. TJ Maxx and Ross, those my stores. There you go. Morning, Coach Lynn in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Good morning to Jen Wright as well. Good to see you in here, Jen. Hope you're having a great morning. All right, let's see here. Let's move on to now the big question, right? The big question mark here is Jordan Love. And we've talked about it a little bit. And a lot of conversation about Kenny Clark's cap number. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Many people were saying, yeah, after we showed the actual cap hit ranking yesterday, it's like, he is a little overpaid there. I hate to be the one to break that to y'all, but it jumped out to me too. Like, man, I hope he comes out and just absolutely crushes it this year, Jacob. Because again, I love the dude, man. And maybe him being in a 34 front with that 2-gap, majority of the time being a 2-gap scheme, maybe that was the issue. But when it comes to pressure rates, when people say, man, no, but he's a great pass rusher, and you look at the pressure rate, he's 89th in the league. It's like, what are we doing? Like, this is what production are we actually paying for other than him being a great leader? Yes, you can't deny that. He's a great human being. I think he's got all the physical tools. Let's just hope it all gets unlocked here this year. Because again, does it show? Yeah, it shows their age here. So he's going to be 30 years old next year. That's the problem, Jacob. Like, just nothing points to, yep, re-sign him unless he's willing to take a really big pay cut. And what that screams to me, they're going to let him test the market. Maybe if he tests the market and he comes back and his best offer was $8 million, now you got to ask yourself, however many voidable years are attached to that $13.7 million cap penalty next year, you got to kind of tack that on and you spread it out over those years. So let's say it's 13.7. I don't want to pull the contract page up because it's going to blast that music I was talking about. But let's say that 13.7 is over 3 years. And the reason it all hits next year is because once he's off the roster, it accelerates, right, to the current year. The first year he's not on the roster. That's called cap hit acceleration. So if you get to 13.7, let's say his best offer was he went out and someone said, hey, we'll give you $10 million fully guaranteed for 1 year. Okay. The Packers come back and go, okay, we'll give you 1 year fully guaranteed for $11 million. Okay. So if you do that, essentially the way that would work is tack on 1 more year. You've got the 3 voidable years. They won't accelerate because he's still on the roster. You extended him. So it would basically be $24 million spread out over 4 years. So if you do the math there, it's from a cap hit allocation. What are you looking at there? $24 million over 4 years, roughly $6 million per, with in mind those last 3 years, he's probably not going to be on the roster unless you extend him year to year. Kenny may hit the market though, Jacob. And that dude somebody may jump up there and go, no, we'll give him $25 million for 2 years. That could happen. So I think they'll let him test the market, man. But let's move on to the big question, quarterback. All right. Let's talk about, there's 3 aspects. Really, there's 2 aspects to contracts, right? Especially when it comes to big contracts like quarterbacks. You've got the average per year, and then you got the guaranteed money. Okay, let's talk about the guaranteed money here. And I'm going to drop our logo down if I can find it real quick. So these are the top quarterbacks in the league sorted by practical guarantee. Okay, you've got guaranteed at signing and then practical guarantee. Basically, the team can't really get out of that guaranteed money unless the player agrees to basically, at a later date, no, I'll take a pay cut type thing, which none of us expect that to happen. So your practical guarantee is really what you want to go off of. At the top of the list is Joe Burrow, okay, 26 years old, 5-year contract, $275 million for an average salary of $55 million. But again, the practical guarantee, $219 million. All right, with $146.5 million guaranteed at the signing. All right. Number 2, Justin Herbert, 25 years old, 5 years, $262.5 million, average annual salary of $52.5, with the practical guarantee being at $218.7 million. Number 3 is Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, 26 years old, 5 years, $260 million, $52 million annual per, $185 million practical guarantee. That looks like a little bit of a deal to me out of all these right off the bat. Talking about a 2-time MVP, Jacob, and he's getting less guaranteed money. And keep in mind where the contract started, 2023 for all 3 of those guys. Number 4, Jalen Hurts, 24 years old, 5 years, $255 million, $51 million average salary, with a practical guarantee of $179.3 million. Number 5, Jared Goff. He is 29 years old, 4 years, $212 million, $53 million annually, with a practical guarantee of $170.6 million. Notice Patrick Mahomes is 8th, right? Now, we talked about that 10-year deal. It was signed in 2020. I love that the top guys, with the exception of Jared Goff being this very year right now, this offseason, the extension getting done, we're all in the same year. It's a little bit easier to comp. What sticks out to you about those quarterbacks as we move on here, man?
I guess the biggest thing is Kyler Murray doesn't belong up there. Looking at that list, I don't see that as. It seems like they put all their eggs in that basket, and this year will tell all. But I just don't see him in that grouping there. Jared Goff has shown that he's a really good plug and play quarterback, and obviously we talked about how he got kind of shipped away from LA, and they said good riddance to him. Hurts and Jackson and Herbert. Herbert is one too that I kind of scratch my head at. Like, the guy's obviously has talent, obviously is very, very good. It's just where do I see Jordan Love fitting into that mix? It's hard to say. It is tough because we talked about. I hate that we don't have a clear. After the years of sitting, after the flashes in preseason, after the flashes in the regular season, when he gets maybe a game or two or a start here and there, or he gets to finish a game, or then we get to a season where it's like half the year he's booty cheeks, and the other half he's the best quarterback we've seen in years. Like, it's just it. After all that time, we're still there, and I people that are on the fence about Jordan Love, I can't hate on him for it because we just don't know enough still, and I hate that. I hate that. Acknowledging that.
I'll tell you a great real-time case study too. Jalen Hurts. They just signed him, and then he had a bad. I don't want to say a bad year. He fell off a little bit last year.
Yep.
Many people have talked. I think it was Wildy and Tausch talked about this the other day, and they were like, if Jalen Hurts had the season he had last year, the year before they gave him the contract extension, do you think they give him the contract extension? They might not, right? And it kind of goes even more in depth with Jordan Love. If Jordan Love's second half of the season would have been like the first, if they were flipped, we'd probably be sitting there having that conversation rather than, hey, this guy's going to absolutely break the bank. So it's, what have you done for me lately in the league? No doubt. Let's hit the comments real quick. I see you got a few, Mark. Appreciate you keeping up with it, Jake. Doug in the chat said Watson's combined 2 season numbers are still near the top of his rookie class. They absolutely are, man.
He actually has more touchdowns than any other wide receiver in that class.
Yep. And again, the injuries are frustrating. I get it, man. There's no one more frustrated than Christian Watson. I guarantee you that. But the people that were screaming, cut him, bench him, this and that, he's, it's like, what? Calm down. We got a lot of production out of this dude. A lot of production. Prince in the chat said both Clark, age, and Slayton fit will be interesting decisions next year. D-tackle could be a 2025 draft focus. Bingo, Prince. And that's why we do these type of exercises. Because it kind of sets the stage, which I'm excited about the college football podcast we're going to do this year too on this channel. It's going to be geared around the Packers. What prospects are we watching? Here's some games to watch for this weekend with a little Wisconsin Badgers talk in there too, because we got a lot of those fans in here. So I wanted to kind of set the stage with the quarterback guaranteed money. Now let's back up a step and look at the Packers free agents. Okay. So these are the Packers that are set for free agency in 2025. At the top of the list, Kenny Clark. All right. His previous average per 17.5 million. You guys know how the cap hit falls, though. Much, much higher than that, right? He's 29.6 years old as it sits right now. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Number 2 on the list, Jordan Love, 26.5 years old. 13.5 million was his previous average annual value. All right. Eric Stokes, number 3 on the list, 26.2 years old. His average annual was 2.9 million. All right. So obviously, if Eric Stokes would sign on the dotted line for a 3-year deal worth $3 million per, and say a guarantee of $6 million where you get out of the 3rd year fairly easy, I'd be okay with signing that. I just think that he's going to warrant more than that on the market, and it's going to be hard for the Packers to justify matching that. Maybe they can get a deal done. Maybe we get in a training camp and you look up and Eric Stokes gets signed and it's incentive based and it's really a Packers friendly deal. That would be absolutely awesome, because from a player standpoint too, he's kind of betting on himself. If the Packers come up and they offered him, hey, we'll give you 3 years, $9 million total with incentives that boost it to $12 million, and we'll give you $6 million guaranteed, Eric Stokes has got to make a decision. All right, is it worth it to take that $6 million guaranteed, or should I try to gamble here and go into the offseason and risk getting hurt again and not getting any guaranteed money and be playing on a minimum contract moving forward in another city, right? Those are the things you've got to kind of toss around there. Number 4 on the list is A.J. Dillon, $2.7 million. Corey Ballantyne, $2.1 million. Josh Myers, $1.3 million. Eric Wilson, $1.3 million. Greg Joseph, the kicker, they just signed, obviously, $1.2 million. That's something we're not talking about a lot, too, man. I'm eager to see if Greg Joseph can beat out Anders Carlson. If he does, stash Anders Carlson on the practice squad and then let him continue to work with Rich Bisaccia there on the practice squad, get a little better. Maybe you can upgrade the kicker position. I know a lot of people, and rightfully so, they're not completely sold on Greg Joseph. The numbers are pretty similar, if I remember correctly. Christian Welch, $1.2 million. Andre Dillard, the free agent signing this year, $1.1 million. Tyler Davis, your boy there, Jacob, $1 million flat. Robert Rochelle, $1 million flat. Zane Anderson, 197. What's that?
He can block.
He can sift, no doubt about it. The amount of times that you rolled your eyes on that sift block breakdown was hilarious. It was all you. I don't care, Clayton. I'm tired of hearing about him sifting. This one's interesting here. Tackle Caleb Jones. I didn't realize he was a restricted free agent next year, if this is accurate from Spot Track, which means he'll probably be back. They'll make him an offer as a restricted free agent. And then if a team counters that offer and they beat that offer, depending on the amount of money they put on him, they'll have to give up a draft pick. Okay. So, like, for example, when we signed Yosh Nijman the year before last, we signed him to a $4 million restricted free agent deal, right? A tender, meaning if a team came and signed him, they would have to offer him a little bit more than that money or equal to that money, and then we would get a second-round pick because that number was so inflated. So I don't know all the restricted free agency tenders, and they probably change from year to year along with everything else like in this world with inflation. Him being restricted, they can offer what they think he's worth, and if a team thinks he's worth more than that, then we'll get a draft pick out of it. Essentially is how that works. TJ Slayton, unrestricted free agent. Then Emmanuel Wilson, Daniel Whelan, Jonathan Ford, Zion Gilbert, Aaron Mosby, and Alex Magoo are all exclusive rights free agents. What I've learned, if the Packers see them valuable, they'll be back. They have control over them, basically. They have exclusive rights to them. If they don't like them, they'll cut them. So I expect all those guys to be back in some kind of fashion, whether they do end up trying to stash them on the practice squad or they end up cutting them in training camp. I think they'll probably go ahead and trigger that exclusive rights free agent there. So obviously the big ones that stick out here, Kenny Clark, Jordan Love, Eric Stokes. I think everybody would agree, unless A.J. Dillon's willing to take the same amount of money he took this time, the Packers are probably ready to move on from him, seeing that Marshawn Lloyd got drafted. But what sticks out to you, Jacob?
Oh boy. I still have really big hopes for TJ Slayton. Like you guys know, I love the late rounders. Caleb Jones is another guy. Royce Newman, where was it in the chat? Somebody said, was it Eric? Of course it's Eric. Eric says Newman should pay the Packers $3 million to release him. Oh, Rolls Royce. We had such hopes for him so early. It's such a tragic
He
situation.
played pretty good his first year starting, man. It was like, hey, we found us one here, I think.
He's
Yeah.
yeah, he really did.
I like what 2-0 for this says. So I don't like Royce. He got that fake mullet.
Oh boy.
What describe for me in the chat 2-0 for this what a fake mullet is. I need to know, man, because I'm from Kentucky. It's the mullet capital of the world. I don't know what a fake mullet is, but I guess the fake mullet to me is when the pretty boys try to pull off the mullet. It's like, bro, you know your heart's not in it. Come on, you're driving a Lexus and you still live with mommy and daddy, and you got a mullet. That's a fake mullet. I need someone like the guys that I grew up with. They got a Honda Cruiser parked in the living room to keep it out of the weather in the middle of a trailer park, right? And like my dad did, we had Budweiser cans on the Christmas trees ornaments. That's a true story. I can show you the picture. So that's a real mullet. My dad has a real mullet. All right. What, Jake?
That's real? Wait, was this your
real... You call me anything you want, but don't call me that.
I always think of Joe Diffie when I see that cat, man. Go ahead, Jacob. I'm sorry. See, this is what happens when we focus on the chat. We get off the damn rails every time. Go ahead.
No, I just was wondering, like, I've seen, like, it's usually like preppy hockey kids that are rocking the mullet now, you know,
Yep.
like off of daddy's money, they're getting that mullet. I just, like you talked about, man, I lived in the South for a while. You knew a true mullet when you seen them. They walk in and they got a big belt buckle or, you know, like a cutoff, and tell you what, they take good care of that.
Here, Ron Sample explained. He said, I think a mullet is fake if you wash the oil out of it. God, I love our listeners. All right. So that's how free agency sits. Anything you want to add to that page before we go back to the quarterback position now and kind of break this thing down?
Not really. I mean, it does. Yeah, I don't know, man. Eric Wilson, Greg Joseph, Christian Welch. Dillard is an interesting one. Like, I'm still wondering if he's going to make the team. If he does make the team and he somehow they can get like a resurgence of his career, which has been pretty booty cheeks, like that would be such a good move, wouldn't it? To just grab a guy that it's like the Rasul Douglas, the Devondre kind of line of that thinking. Like maybe we just grab a guy that people threw out with the trash and can make something of him. If that's the case, we got him at an unbelievable deal. So I don't have a lot of high hopes for that, but just a little, for instance.
Absolutely. All right. So back to the quarterback position. Let's talk about the comps here. You guys remember we talked about the guaranteed money, right? Let's start with the most recent contract that was signed, Jared Goff there. You see him, 4 years, $212 million, $170.6 million practical guarantee. Let's go to the contract details. This is going to give you an idea of how it may or may not lay out for when the Packers do sign Jordan Love to a contract extension. All right, so in 2024, this year, Jared Goff's cap hit is $27.2 million. That is really manageable. 2025, it's 32.6. 2026, it's 69.6. In 2027, it's 54.6. And then in 2028, it jumps to 61.6. Now, here's the number you need to keep up with. Look at the cap hit column. Those numbers I just read to you guys on the pod. There's also a dead cap column. So in 2024, his cap hit is 27.2. His dead cap is 123.6. Obviously, there's no way they're going to cut him, right? There's no way they're going to try to move on this year after giving that. People are going, no crap, Sherlock. 2025, cap hit 32.6, cap penalty 96.4. No way you're going to cut him. 2026, cap hit 69.6 million, dead cap 63.8. What that means is if you cut him, he's still going to be 63.8 million against your cap, but his cap hit would have been 69.6. You would free up $6 million. If it goes completely south, you could see the Lions go, okay, yeah, he's lost it. He's 32 years old. He's not even backup quality. Let's just cut him, free up the $6 million. Or if he's playing decent and it's like you still can't justify the 69.6, that's where you might tack on voidable years, convert some of the base salary, which if you look over at the base salary in 2026, it's $55 million. That's what we're talking about, being able to convert that right there, some of that, say half of it. Let's say you took $20 million of it and converted it to signing bonus. You write him a check. You can now take that $20 million, spread it out over voidable years. Let's say you put 3 voidable years on the end of the contract. Now you can spread that out, and you're only on the hook that year for $35 million. So, well, I'm sorry. You'll take the 20 million off, which will drop his cap hit down to 49 million. That's how cash over cap works. That's how the restructuring of these deals work on the surface. Okay. So 2027, his cap hit is 54.6 million. Look at the dead cap, only 29.2 million. Now you're in that range where it's okay. We could cut him loose. What do we always say, Jacob? Me and Tim talk about this all the time. It's a 4-year extension, but it's really just a 3-year deal. Really just a 2-year deal, to be honest with you. So that's why these players are trying to get guaranteed money, because you see how the teams can save money by cutting these guys. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, just too old for this guy. It's like Jared Goff is only 29. In my mind, he's a 38-year-old quarterback who's limping into each game. And it's like, nah. Like Paul said, Goff is the oldest, youngest quarterback in the league. I don't know why. I just feel like the dude is, and honestly, like, not to make this a Jared Goff podcast or anything like that, but the guy, he just seems like a good dude. Apparently, like, really great in the city of Detroit. He's got a smoking hot wife. I'm just saying, like, the dude's like living the life, after he got cut, or not cut, but after he got traded away, I'm sure that in a moment he was like, man, what am I doing? What is my life going? Well, sometimes God gives gifts that you don't know about, because I feel like that his career was absolutely catapulted when he actually left LA there and went to Detroit. So I think Detroit's happy about it. 53 a year. I don't know how I feel about that if I'm actually a Lions fan, but whatever.
When I see the age too, Jacob, I'm still in that old mindset. I see 32, 33, and I think, oh, well, he's old. That's not old for a quarterback. Like, these guys, they can to me, 35 is the new 30 for quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of expect them to play pretty much peak until 35. They may lose the legs a bit, like we've seen Aaron and all the greats do. But other than Tom Brady, he ran a faster 40, what was it, last year than he did at the combine, which is that's pretty wild to think about. Make you want to go out and buy some avocado ice cream. But
to be fair, Tom Brady looked pretty pasty in his rookie year. He was not the epitome of an athlete as far as physique went.
Yeah. He was a quarterback, not an athlete. Just like what I used to say when people said, oh, did you play sports? Or were you an athlete? I said, no, I wasn't an athlete. I played baseball. I wasn't an athlete. So, all right, Patrick Mahomes, you ready for this one? Look at the difference in these contracts. Look at Jared Goff's. Take a good mental image of it, right? 4-year extension, 5 years overall on the deal here. Look at Patrick Mahomes, bro.
Good Lord.
So, obviously, from 2020, and he's technically on the books through 2033. Just wild. So, let's just start in 2024. Patrick Mahomes' cap hit, $37 million. His dead cap, $113 million. 2025, his cap hit jumps all the way to $66.2 million. Dead cap, $77.8 million. 2026, it's $68.6 million. Dead cap, $29 million. So, okay, you can start getting rid of him. These are the things I don't understand about this contract. We'll just go through his cap hit real quick, and I'll explain what I mean. 2026, cap hit is $68.6 million. 2027, it's $64.8. 2028, it's 32.5. 2029, it's 34.9. 2030, it is 45.5. 2031, it's 48.3. And then look at the two voidable years, Jacob. $60 million is what it's showing in cap hit on those two. Okay. So if you were to cut him, I imagine that would accelerate. So what it shows you is, if I'm understanding this contract correctly, and again, this is one of the more difficult contracts to fully understand, those last 4 years, he basically said, look, this is a team-friendly deal. I remember Andrew Brandt saying, I don't understand why Patrick Mahomes is doing this. He's doing it because he wants to win rings, and he wants to be considered the GOAT. I'm not a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but you got to tip your cap to him there. You really do. So they're set up. The problem they're going to run into is next year in 2025, they're going to have to shuffle this stuff around. The cap keeps going up, as we always talk about. All you've got to do is convert some of that money to signing bonus. Look at his roster bonus of $33.3 million. That can be converted to signing bonus to $16.6 million. A good chunk of that base salary can be converted. But you could take $20 million of that combined $48 million and convert it to signing bonus and spread it out, tack it on, let's say, to years 28 and 29 allocated to those years, right? And you're going to free up $40 million. So,
is there any, like, I'm not a great numbers / contract guy. It makes my eyes cross, to be honest. if they get into, let's say, 2026, and you start looking at the fact that, yeah, this dude's like 24% of our team's cap, like, can they restructure? If they do restructure, who holds the cards? Like,
Mhm.
is that 10-year contract, quote unquote, is it there as just a placeholder and then they're going to do work as you get down the line kind of thing? Or,
That's exactly what I see. More specifically with 28 and 29, right? Because the way it's structured, it's almost like where most teams are. Hey, the Packers like to structure contracts where we got an out on the last year or two. We can get out of this contract. Others will structure it in a way where it's backloaded. We'll pay the bill later, right? This is like it's such a long placeholder that you've got a little break in the middle. It's almost like, yeah, look, we'll make sure that we try to start absorbing some of that cap hit around 2025, 2026. But if the window's still open and we need some money to fill a void and try to win another championship, the 13th championship, however many they've got, then we can just slide it down into those two placeholder years of the 28, 29. It's almost like there's checkpoints throughout this contract, but it's such a long contract. That's the way I'm reading it. I could be wrong, though. So, all right, let's move on to Joe Burrow. So you've seen the Jared Goff contract, right? 4-year extension. We talked about it. You've seen the Patrick Mahomes. He's got a 32-year deal. And then here comes Joe Burrow, one of the more recent ones. Joe Burrow is kind of the happy medium in between those two. Now you see the red numbers already. There's placeholders in place with 3 avoidable years on the backside. So starting in 2024, his cap hit is $29.7 million. The dead cap is $154 million. In 2025, the cap hit is $46.2 million. The dead cap is $105 million. In 2026, it's $48.2 million cap hit. Dead cap's $49 million. 2027, the cap hit is $52.2 million. The dead cap is only $28 million. 2028, cap hit is $53.5 million. The dead cap hit is only $15 million. 2029, $68.5 million is the cap hit. Dead cap of only $2 million flat. 2030, $9 million cap hit. And of course, he's not on the roster now. These are avoidable years. $9 million, then $3 million, then $1 million. Most of the time, that gives you some immediate cap relief by doing that, but also you got those placeholders where you can extend that money out if you want to convert some money to signing bonus. So that's kind of in between. The Jared Goff is more along the lines of how the Packers like to do their contracts. Patrick Mahomes is kind of the unicorn of the group. Joe Burrow's like right in the middle. Does that make sense, Jacob?
Yep.
So that's how that lays out. And again, we're taking these 3 contracts so we can look at the cap hit. The whole purpose of this exercise, I know by the sound of my voice, you probably think I'm flying blind here, but the whole purpose of all these exercises is to try to determine what's a reasonable cap hit we can expect for Jordan Love in the next 2 to 3 years. That's going to determine how much cap space we actually have, right? That's why we're doing this. Let's move on now to the Jordan Love market value. Okay, now, again, this isn't the tell-all, end-all. This is just Spot Track trying to project. We're going to tell you why they project this too. So the 4 comps that they give you for Jordan Love's new contract is going to be Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. All right. When you look at it, the things they're comparing, and I'm not going to read off everyone's stats. I'm just going to give you the percentage change when it applies to Jordan Love's market value. Joe Burrow, right? He's, obviously at the top of the list. You got gameplay percentage, you got passing yards per game, passing touchdowns per game, passing interceptions per game, passing completion percentage, passer rating, rushing yards per game, games played per year, and then an overall rating. And then you compare that across the board to Jordan Love. This may not be exactly how the Packers and other NFL front offices do it, but it's going to be similar. This is what we're talking about. Okay, who do you compare to across the league? That's going to determine your contract. Notice Jared Goff's name is not listed here, right? So you got to kind of, Jared Goff's the most recent contract, but probably doesn't compare very well to what Jordan Love's camp is going to try to get, that type of thing. So when you look at all those changes, let's read off Jordan's average, okay? Well, the average of the top 4 there, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts, okay? Gameplay percentage, their average is 88.9 is the grade there, okay? Is the percentage of gameplay percentage that they have, okay? Jordan Love's is 63.6. That's for a percentage change of minus 28.4. That's going to hurt Jordan Love. When they come to the negotiating table, they're going to go, hey, look, he didn't play near as many games. That's the dilemma we're in, Jacob. We've talked about the whole time is we haven't seen quite enough. He's playing great. We just haven't seen enough. Passing yards per game, those 4 quarterbacks average 253.1. Jordan Love, 207.3 for a minus 18.09 percentage change. Passing touchdowns per game, their average, those 4, 1.67 per game. Jordan Love, 1.57 for a change of negative 5.9%. Passing interceptions per game, they average 0.72. Jordan Love averaged 0.52. Pretty cool. So there's a positive net gain for percentage change when it comes to Jordan Love at 27.78%. Passing completion percentage, those 4 quarterbacks, 65.9. Jordan Love, 65.4. Only a negative 0.70. Not much change there. Passer rating, those 4 average 95.8. Jordan Love, 104.1 for a positive net gain of 8.6%. Rushing yards per game average for those 4 players, 35 rushing yards per game. Jordan Love is only 11.7. That drops him down negative 66.5% compared to the others. Now, do I think rushing yards per game for quarterbacks going to come into the contract as a huge factor? I really don't, but it's still
that's basically Lamar and Jalen, though. That ain't Herbert and Burrow.
Bingo. Yeah. Look at Lamar Jackson, 63.7 yards, rushing yards per game. There's the biggest chunk there. But again, you got to comp it. Game played per year, they average 15 games per year. Jordan Love has only averaged 10.5 games per year, okay, for a net loss of 30%. So the rating overall for those 4 quarterbacks is 84.15. Jordan Love's is 80.5. So the percentage change, he loses 3.9% off of those top 4 comps, right? The median prime percentage change of minus 5.99%, and average prime percentage change of minus 13.03%. That brings his calculated market value to 4 years, $191.5 million, with an average salary of 47.8. That's just overall contract. That's not the guaranteed money. So if you want to look at the guaranteed money and go, what's a true comp? We just talked about those 4 players. What I'm going to do is talk about Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to talk about Joe Burrow and Jared Goff, since he was the most recent one. Okay. So let's look. Actually, we've got the guaranteed. Never mind. Let's just do that. Let's go top 4 guaranteed. This is what Mulugeta is going to go for. Jordan's agent. He wants more guaranteed money for his client. So the top 4 are 219, 218, 185, and 179, with the most recent being Jared Goff. That's actually going to help Jordan Love, I believe, at 170 million. So if you went right in the middle of those, what would you be looking at, Jacob? You'd be looking at, let's say 185, let's say 190 million or 190 million guaranteed. Okay. So if you go back to the contract and you go 4 years, 191.5 million, the numbers don't shake out, right? You're saying, okay, is it going to be a fully guaranteed contract? I don't expect the Packers to do that, but the numbers that's why it's such an awkward situation. That's why when Goody talked about it back a couple of months ago, he said it's going to be a complicated contract to get done. Not that they can't figure out the numbers, that they've never worked it. We don't know what we're going to do. It's complicated because Jordan's camp is going to come in and go, nah, man, we deserve 190 million guaranteed. Goody's camp's going to come in and go, hey, look, the comps suggest 4 years, 191. Are you saying it should be 100% guaranteed? There's only one player in the league at the quarterback position that got a fully guaranteed contract. His name's Deshaun Watson. And the only reason it's fully guaranteed is because the Cleveland Browns are morons. That's why.
Real quick. That's a perfect intro here. Deadfish just actually said something about that.
Mm-hmm. I looked that up too. I was trying to figure it out why he wasn't on there. You know what I think it is? And cue up the conspiracy music. But
yeah.
This is right now Jacob's alley. So the thing that I come up with, Deadfish, is because you notice that everyone across the league, they're like, when you look at the league's front office, when you look from the owner standpoint, you notice how they just pretend like the Deshaun Watson contract doesn't even exist.
Doesn't exist.
Nobody's negotiating quarterback contracts based off of Deshaun Watson. They looked at that and went, hey, look, they're a bunch of idiots over there. We're not doing that. And, that's where the players union got a little bit butthurt, and they were like, well, this is collusion then. If all the owners, right, are agreeing that we're not going to do a contract like that, then that's collusion against our players. Now, that's called business owners doing business owner things, going, hey, look, just because one knucklehead does something stupid doesn't mean we all have to fall in line. We control this whole outfit here. We own the teams.
And
These
it had
guys
to be
can
the
go do something else with their life. What's that?
It had to be the Browns that made that kind of decision too, right? Like it's just that was such. I mean, obviously you take all the things even off the table, the massage table, if you will. That was just a stupid signing. Like it was just why I wouldn't do that money for Tom Brady. Like it didn't exist at that moment. Like I don't know, man. I am dumbfounded as to why like the front brass of that organization were like, yeah, let's do this. Because
And you know why they did it, Jacob? Because he did not want to go there. He was ready to sign with Atlanta. And then Cleveland came back like, we need a quarterback. We'll make it fully guaranteed. Deshaun went, you know what? Cleveland's actually a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful city. What a great landscape.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. So that Deadfish, I'm glad you brought it up because I had it in my notes to mention it and I completely forgot. If you hadn't commented that, Jake, if you hadn't caught the comment, I wouldn't have mentioned it. Yeah, Deadfish says Kevin Costner never would have made that deal. So I think that's why it's not there. Look, I don't want to try to disparage Spot Track's name, but if Spot Track has a partnership with the NFL and they own and operate a business that works hand in hand with the NFL, sharing numbers and them laying these contracts out, probably not going to put that up there to put the NFL in an awkward spot going, hey, look, yeah, that's actually these guys are actually worth more than that. That there may be a little of that business behind the scenes. I don't know. That's strictly speculation, but that's the only thing I can come up with why Deshaun Watson's contract is not on the list. It's like it's that loud guy in the back of the room. The loudest person in the room typically has the least amount to say.
Yep.
He's that guy. He's just shouting at the top of his lungs, showing his rear end the entire time, and everybody at the party's just going, just ignore him. Just ignore him. That's what it feels like the owners are doing here with the Browns. So,
what do you call that? Social IQ?
Yeah, I think we would. Yeah. Sideline report says then the Russell Wilson extension before he even takes one snap for 10. That's wild, man. Absolutely wild. So, again, back to it. Let's wrap it up with this. The number we're coming up with, $190 million guaranteed. Obviously, the market value is suggesting that's what the overall contract's worth. I don't think they'll go 100% fully guaranteed contract like that, 4 years, $190 million. I just don't think that's how the Packers do business. That's why it's going to take this thing a little time to get done. The thing I want to key in on, though, again, let's just go back real quick and look at those three quarterbacks and their cap hits for the year after they signed their deal. So when you sign this deal with Jordan Love, it's going to apply next year to 2025. So look at the cap hits. Jared Goff, most recent contract, $32.6 million cap hit next year. Patrick Mahomes for 2025, his jumps to 66.2. We talked about how that's kind of the outlier where that break is 3 years down the road, where they'll probably push some money out. If you look at his most recent cap hits, 35.7, 37.1, 37 million flat. Then it jumps to 66, 68, 64, and then back down to 32, 34, 45, 48. So the number you're seeing is in the mid-30s, right, Jacob? So again, here, 2025, 32 million. Patrick Mahomes, I would just say, let's call it 37 million would be a normal cap hit. And then Joe Burrow in 2025, his is 46. What I think is going to happen from a cap hit standpoint strictly, Jordan Love's cap hit next year will probably be somewhere between 32 and $45 million. That's what I expect his cap hit to be in 2025. Now in 2026, that number is going to begin to jump like a lot of these contracts did. It may not jump all the way in the 60s, but it will probably jump in the 50s. Then you got to get creative with the cap. What were you going to say, Bo?
No, it makes me laugh because I remember at one point, I don't remember exactly what year, what time frame, we were looking at contracts. People were like, Aaron Rodgers dictates 25% of the whole team's salary. Isn't that outrageous? And it's like, well, yeah, like it's not that outrageous. Like you look around the league now, and that's kind of the standard, isn't it not? Or am I?
I'll do you one further, bro. When Rodgers and Goody, when they're falling out, hit an all-time peak, I was one of the only people and this isn't, I'm not running a victory lap here. I got hate for it. I still get hate for it to this day. And my stance I'm still hold fast there. Aaron was trying to get Goody to partner with him, right? It's like, hey, why don't you give me some say in the personnel? And in exchange, what Aaron is trying to do, and listen, Aaron has got I'm not an Aaron apologist. This dude's got a massive ego. When he thinks he's right, he is right. And I'm not going to listen to anyone else. That's how Aaron kind of operates. And I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. Right. But I think he went to Goody thinking, I'm the great Aaron Rodgers. Goody, look, let's partner up here. Let's work together on this, right? Go back to Sean McVay. What is Sean McVay? Why did they trade Jared Goff? He said, I wanted a partner, not a student. That's why they went and got Matt Stafford. People can foo-foo it and they can laugh and go, what a stupid move. They got a Super Bowl ring, fellas. It worked. That blew my mind that people that year were going, well, they're not the best team. They got the Lombardi. I could give a rat's ass if I'm the quote-unquote best team if I get a Lombardi.
If I could interject, though, I will say that that was kind of like when people say, you got to go all in, all in. The Rams went all in, and now they're suffering for that for the next, 4 or 5 years after, because they did. They went all in, and guess what? In some eyes, it's worth it. In other eyes, it's like,
yeah, right. Yeah. And my slight pushback, my slight rebuttal there is, didn't they make the playoffs last year?
They did. Yep, you're right. Even with a limping team, right? Like,
bro, they won the Super Bowl with the largest cap penalty in NFL history. Yeah. That's what's wild. They were carrying the largest cap penalty for one specific player. I think it was Jared Goff, and they still won the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to kind of don't let the contract talk completely, the salary cap talk completely control the conversation. The number one goal is to field the best team. But back to the Aaron Rodgers thing, I said, I think if Goody had approached it different, Aaron wouldn't have been as so combative. They were both at fault. I said that all along. They're both to blame, that their egos got in the way and they couldn't make it work. If it had worked, then Aaron would have continued to keep that cap number down. I challenge everybody, go look at Aaron's cap hit number, average it out, average his cap hit ranking. This is the only way you're going to get a true assessment of this situation, because people go, well, you got to look at the guaranteed money. Average it all out, cap penalty included, over the course of his entire career, and you'll find out that he's going to be in the top 10 and highest paid quarterbacks, but he was never the number one. He was never a top 3, like when you average it out over the duration of his contract. When Goody hardballed it and pissed Aaron off, and then Aaron started taking shots at him in the media, and then they fully guaranteed that $150 million contract for his extension and put the Packers in that situation where last year they have a $41 million cap penalty. It's literally both sides, Aaron and Goody, could not have handled it any freaking worse. Now you guys are going, well, how do we know he would have took a pay cut, Clayton? How do you know he would have worked with Goody like that? I'll show you how. Look at his cap hit here. Look at Aaron Rodgers on this list for fully guaranteed, practical guarantee. Aaron Rodgers, $75 million. He's 14th on this list with 3 years on the contract. He did it when he went to the Jets. And when he did it, all the Aaron Rodgers haters, guess what they said? Oh, of course he'd do that. He's just doing that to stick it to the Packers. No, he understands how the cap works. He was trying to work with Goody. He just let his brash attitude, personality get in the way. Again, both are at fault. I know that's not a popular opinion, because there's people that love to hate Aaron Rodgers, especially today in 2024, for reasons we won't even get into. And there's, on the other side, Aaron does no wrong and Goody is evil. The reality is, I think they're both good people. Their egos just clashed. That's essentially what happened. And that's where I had to bite the bullet and swallow my ego, Jacob, because when Bob McGinn was reporting all this, Clayton was the guy going, he's just trying to stir up crap, man. That ain't true. None of that's true. He was right. He had it right from the get-go, man. So I don't mean to bring up that old subject, but when you're talking cap situations, it's important for the whole story to be told. It's just like the whole Brett Favre saga and him falling out with the Packers. I remember when it first happened, people hated the Packers. Do you remember that? Packer fans picketing outside of Lambeau Field. They were wanting Brett Favre back. And I remember
somebody saying, take you to the toilet bowl, and Brett Favre will take you to the Super Bowl.
Matter of fact, let's go down memory lane.
Rodgers, who the only place he's going to take you to is the toilet bowl, and then you got Brett Favre, who will take you to the Super Bowl.
I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about it.
I'm just saying, we're going to talk about it.
Just because,
The reason I say that, Jacob, is because, like, when that happened, I remember reporters going, it's going to take a few years, but the whole story will come out. And then you find out the timeline of how Brett went back. And, like, they literally, he retired and unretired 3 times in one offseason. Many people don't know that timeline. Go watch, Google, you'll find it on a really weird website, but it'll pop up. It'll say, if you'll Google last day at Lambeau, it tells the whole story of the timeline. When that happened, everybody tried to paint the Packers as the evil organization, when in all honesty, that was Brett's ego getting more in the way there. Ted Thompson was just a innocent bystander, if you will. I'm really, really glad that Aaron was able to get Ted a Super Bowl and kind of justify his decision for sure. But again, this isn't the whole ill will towards Brett or Aaron or Goody or anyone else. It's important that the entire story gets told, because in the raw emotion of being in the moment when this stuff's happening, because we're all fans, we all want the same thing. We want Lombardi to come home to Green Bay, but we kind of get there in different ways. It's important to look back on it and go, yeah, I was wrong there. I know I was wrong. Again, I was bashing Bob McGinn going, this dude, he's just trying to stir up trouble. No, they really hated each other behind the scenes. So we got to wrap this up, man. Golly, we went way over, but this is fun, man. This is good off-season conversation. What you got, Jake, as we get ready to wrap up, man?
I do have one more thing. I sent you a snapshot on Twitter. You don't have to bring it up if you can't hear, but one of my followers, or one of the guys I'm friends with on Twitter, goes, I'm legit confused here. They showed, Adam Schefter shared the class of 2024 at this weekend's NFLPA rookie premiere in Los Angeles. So they got maybe 20, 30 guys out there all lined up. And you see a guy with a Green Bay jersey on wearing number 17. And to the naked eye, you're like, why is Anders Carlson standing out there? And no, it's not Anders Carlson. It's Michael Pratt. So apparently right now they're sharing the number 17. Why would they be sharing the number? Thank you. Right there. Look at that beautiful mug over there.
So the documentary that we showed last night shows you why he wears the number 7. That was his teammate that
passed.
Trying to think it. Yeah. Afraid to say the word because they'll take the stream down.
Right.
Yeah, the kid who lost his life, right? We'll just put it that way. He always wore number 7. He's got a tattoo, believe in 7, because that's what his buddy always said. Believe in 7, because that was his number. Like, you can believe in me, I got your back type thing. So 7, the number 7 is very, very, very important to Michael Pratt, obviously. So when you wear the number 17, it kind of makes me think either Anders Carlson is willing to give up that number. Maybe they'll just work it out later on in camp, or maybe it's something that he'll end up changing it later. But in his rookie premiere, he's not technically on the roster yet. This doesn't have to be the exact jersey, although for marketing, for branding purposes, players want their real jersey out there, I think that's why he did it. It's an opportunity to have that 7 in there. Now, some people go, why didn't he wear number 7, right? I can't remember who's number 7 on the roster. I don't think it's obviously not a retired number, right? But
isn't it Quay?
Yep, Quay. Yeah. So you can't. Yeah, it's one of those things that yeah. I know some people are probably reading between the lines, like, does that mean Anders isn't going to be on the team?
You know what? To be honest, that was the first thought in my head. I'm like, ooh,
Right.
they're getting this number away.
Yep, could be, man. Could be. That. Now, listen, I don't think the front office went to Michael Pratt and said, hey, we're 17. We're cutting him. I don't think they did that.
We're going to let him know just a few weeks early.
Going to the rookie premiere, a little bit easier to go, okay, there's 3, at the best of my knowledge, there's 3 kickers on the roster. There's going to be a camp battle, and Quay Walker ain't going anywhere. I think I'll just choose 17 here and roll the dice. So, yeah, probably what happened. But, all right, we're showing that StreamYard has a low signal. So we're going to get out of here. I know we got a bunch of people watching. If you guys would, before you go, hit that like button for us. It'll help boost the algorithm, help other Packer fans find this channel, find this content. We got 177 watching here in the offseason. Pretty darn cool, man, that we got this many people interested in off-season talks. So we appreciate y'all hanging out with us for sure. Jacob, anything else, bub?
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
We're out, guys. A little bit of advice for you. All right, before we do leave.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
It's allergy season. Wash your hands, wash your butt. So hope everybody has a great day. We'll be back tonight for PTA Live. If I have time, I'm going to try to put together our final chalk talk for the rookies. I think it would be Kalen King. If I don't have time, we'll just hit some more news around the Packers. Again, that Michael Pratt video is up. It's not under the live tab. It's under the video tab if you want to go back and watch that chalk talk from last night. It was a lot of fun. He impressed the heck out of me. So there you go. We'll see you tonight. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.